The Manchester United sales takeover is entering its 10 months. What's going on here? Sir Jim Ratcliffe's coming out to say that he's willing now to throw in the dice for 25%. We're going to unpack everything in this podcast. For your information, this is Mick from Mufc Realist TV, joined here by Tom Journalist and also Paul White. Please enjoy the show and don't forget to like and subscribe. But since I have Tom here, it's not often that we get you here, Tom. But anyway, I just want to pick your brains regarding what just came out on Twitter regarding Sir Jim Ratcliffe and all of a sudden what there was reporting that he's only going to go in with 25% investment. That's something new, or is it old? What's your take on that?
Well, we knew that he'd already offered to. He'd put 3 separate offers in. He'd put an option in to buy the 69% outright, which would remove all of the Glazer family, but it's nowhere near the asking price that the family want.
It's nowhere near what the Sheikh Jassim's bid is. That's the thing.
Well, it's not, yeah. And then they wanted to propose that they keep Joel and Avram in with 20% and they buy out the rest of the siblings, which would give them the whole control over the football club, which is what they would ultimately want, which that offer's not been accepted. And then he offered a third proposal at the time, which was that he would buy a percentage of each of the siblings' shares, and whatever that totals up to, he would have to meet the threshold of over 50% to then be in control of the football club. But one of the sticking points that he's always wanted is he wants to control the football club. Yeah, he doesn't want to buy in and not be able to impact decision making at Manchester United. So with this coming out of nowhere, this left field of our buying at 25%, it is a little bit ludicrous, really, from that aspect. I knew he was reshuffling his bid because I'd done a previous show with Red Devil Sudi on his channel to discuss sort of an update around that he was tweaking certain parts of his offer, but the understanding that I had was that he was going to increase upon the other ones. Nothing to do with anything about going in and going at minority stake. So to actually even hear this from today, that it's even an option. I mean, we knew that the guy had tried to cut out the fans with by keeping some of the siblings in. And I think really what gets the United fans the most really is that this guy claims he's a Manchester United fan. If you're a Manchester United fan, you would know that the fans absolutely hate the Glazer family.
Yep.
And really, irrespective of that, if you're a fan, you shouldn't be supporting what these owners have actually done to this football club. Because if you are, then you're just incompetent. And I think from the bottom of a lot of United fans' hearts, I'll probably be the first to say it. So Jim Ratcliffe will not be welcome at Old Trafford. If this proposal of his to buy 25%, he better.
Don't you think he knows it as well? Don't you think he knows it?
Well, he's never. Well, I've never seen him in the stands at Old Trafford before. I mean, he claims he was at the '99 final. Show us a picture, Sir Jim.
Yeah.
You went to a big event like that, and you don't have a picture.
No.
But we've seen this made up sort of tabloid that people made about Sheikh Jassim, and he was at Old Trafford with his son in a Man United shirt. And it makes you just think really about the actual importance of this football club to him.
Reminds me of Joe Biden on the speech of 9/11, anniversary, and he was saying, "I was standing there looking at the gates of hell." Like, he was not even there until 2 weeks after.
Well, but this is the thing, though, and at the end of the day, with the family, will it make the family move? Probably not. I don't think it will, because they could have taken a minority stake option from one of the others. They could have had the same deal that Sir Jim's going to do with an investment fund, an Oak Tree Capital, or a Carlisle, an Elliott Management. They could do that deal months ago, and they've not done it. So
I think,
why is it different with Sir Jim?
I think it's for me. If you want my honest opinion, I know what I know, but if I put my thoughts to it, for me it's like a concession, in a way, to say, like, even Bloomberg came out to say that his bid was blown out of the water. He's dead in the water. And then it's been like an alleviate period, and what you see now coming out 25% is pretty much to save face. This takes a lot of time, And one thing you don't want to do is to lose face. At least you can say I tried. But if Qatar has come in with a substantial bid that meets the evaluation that you certainly as an enterprise cannot compete with, unless you dig in from your own pocket, that means that Ineos is buying X amount of shares of Class B, and he personally goes in and buy out the minorities. And there's always been that legal challenge from the minorities stakeholders as well. Boeing Group, Lindsay Train and all them. So that's not a clean deal. There's also the Neil Custis story that people are discouraging because he's like, oh, it's the Sun. But you know what? He's not a bad journalist. Neil Custis has been around for quite a while, right? So he's been getting some information. He said in October. So what's in October as well is the Grand Prix and Qatar. Qatar Authority Investment that's actually buying into the F1, ownership. So there's going to be a major PR event for them. And what better way is to sort of have that announcement is that final lap, final race at the F1 Qatar Doha PR. Boom.
United.
Yeah, we won the race at the F1.
Well, at the end of the day...
sorry.
Go on, Jarvis.
Yeah, I just have a question. I'm terrible in math, but I try to wrap my head around how can they buy 25% and get the majority? Because
they can't.
They can't. That's the difference.
As I understand, the Glazers have 10 times the B shares, the voting rights.
Mm-hmm.
So one share from the Glazers is worth 10 times.
It's worth 10 times what a minority
when they sell them,
is.
When they sell them, the 10 times will be annulled, so it will be 1. Is that right?
It'll go down to whatever the Glazer family want it to, because
they can adjust it.
Yeah, it's the Glazer family's decision. When they decided to separate the shares from A to B, they put the B shares with the more voting rights and controlling power. Based upon that gives them the control if they were to sell the football club. So then, if you don't buy the shares off them, none of the other minority investors can buy enough shares to challenge the Glazer family's ownership, and therefore say, well, we've got, say, 50% of it, and you've got 50% of it, but we'll buy the other half off you.
Yeah.
So it puts them in a position where they can't ever be challenged to be bought out, effectively. It's their decision when they decide. It's when they decide to leave. That's how it means. So, for example, with what Ratcliffe's proposing, if he wants to buy 25%, he won't have control of the football club, which the one thing that we've known from the very start, even when the stuff fluttered out around that he was going to keep some of the members in, was he always wanted control. So I don't understand the sudden change of heart and why it would interest the Glazer family when they've had these offers that Ratcliffe will propose now on the table from all these minority investment groups all the way back as far as January, and they've never accepted one of those offers. And if we're being completely honest with you, they don't even get talked about as much anymore nowadays. You never hear anything about Carlisle, Elliott Management, none of these groups. It's always Sheikh Jassim and the Qataris, or Ratcliffe and Ineos, and they're the only two real bids that, if we're being honest, anybody's even interested in anyway.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right there, because they ran two linear processes. One was for 25 investment, 25% on investment. The other one was full sale, right?
Yeah.
All of the minority investors fell off already, right? They fell off. So it was only full sale or buying 69%. Let us not kid ourselves. Glazers are in big financial mess privately as well, right? So for me, it sounds like, okay, well, this is my last throw of the dice. I cannot release any funds anymore. I've been knocking on different banks' door, trying to see if I can get a mortgage or something. And basically, we are living in a really huge recession time when banks are not giving out loans. That's the thing, right? And at the end of the day, I see this as more of a, okay, here's my last throw at the dice, because for them it's more of a legacy. They want to be, what do you call it, philanthropists, right? We've done money already. We want to just relax, retire, and own something, a stake of a football club. But could it also be that it's kind of normal as well that the winning bid also get minority investors investing in that bid? Could it be that he's investing the 25% in the winning bid? Question mark.
Well, the only thing that would make sense with him doing that, this 25% stake now, is that if he has some sort of an agreement that means he can buy them out later on. That's the only realistic thing, by, say, 2025 or 26, something like that. But again, we're talking like 3-4 years away, which for the Glazer family, in 3-4 years' time, you never know what's going to happen. There might be another Super League that might come about, and they might want to jump ship and say, "Do you know what? Screw you, Sir Jim. Screw our deal." Because at the end of the day, we own the control of the football club, so we decide what's going to happen with it. And what's the Jim going to just do? He's going to sit there with 25%. It's not. It wouldn't make any logical sense. But that's the one thing that we can say anyway with Sheikh Jassim and the Qataris is they've never ruled out that they would bid one final time. They've never ruled it out. It's always been, it's our fifth and final bid. But the one thing that they've never decided upon is, well, if they hear that Ratcliffe's advancing more than them or anything like that, it might just come to it where they might just think, oh, do you know what? Let's just have one final blow of the dice and then we'll have 50%. And then we'll just blow it. We'll just go all in at the poker table. And if they don't win it, well, no fan can really say that they didn't go all in to try and get the club because they would have done. What more can you do? You can't make somebody's mind up for them. They have to make the decision.
Yeah, but the thing is,
that's what the family have to do.
Yeah, but you can understand that, you want this as your legacy, as your time and legacy. I can understand that. But you got to read the room what the fans want and don't want, right? Yeah, I can understand you want to buy the Ferrari, but you don't have money to drive the Ferrari. You got to put petrol in the Ferrari, you know what I mean? On the other hand, you have Sheikh Jassim, 92 Holding Foundation. They're going toe-to-toe, with the PIF for the, bidding for the major sporting events. Qatar has been propping up the professional league. They're getting golf, they're getting everything. So that's part of the sporting portfolio. They will not cave on this one. So they're playing poker. They're sitting quite relaxed because let me understand. Let me be this clear. They probably slapped a substantial bid, which is undisclosed, on the table, which everyone is guessing. But I rest assured, it's met the over-evaluation, blowing Sheikh Jassim, Ineos out of the water. Because, you remember he went the back door, he went just straight to the horse's mouth to say how much. Boom, here you go.
Well, it's not even that, though. When you think about it, that the actual owners of United in the Glazer family contacted Nasser Al Khalifa. I think a lot of people forget that story.
Yeah.
They contacted Nasser Al Khalifa to be involved and be a broker for a deal with the Qataris. Why would you do that if you're not interested in selling the football club? Why?
Yeah.
Clearly, there is a price that they will sell for, and as far as everybody understands, it's £6 billion.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that the groups have been bidding in the process, they've bidded in dollars. And the one thing that I always heard from the sort of American financial world had always been that if the Qataris had gone for what they would have said, if this process was in pounds, they would have bought this football club a lot easier based upon the evaluation of it. But because the Glazer family listed it via New York Stock Exchange, they have to currency within dollars, and because the dollar is always going to fluctuate between higher or lower between the pound, just like the euro does for the British pound. When you have that fluctuation, you can't always stick a same number on it. Whereas for the Qataris, they deal in dollars anyway. Saudi Arabia deal in dollars. A lot of Saudi Arabians' money, funnily enough, isn't in their own country. It's in America.
Yep.
American investment funds hold Saudi Arabia's money. PIF, for example, have 20% of their overall wealth with Clear Lake Capital owned Chelsea Football Club. That's where that sort of story came through from there, that they manage PIF's assets, because they do. In the same way now that the Qataris will have some sort of investment within a Bank of America, within a Citibank, or within one of the big investment banks within the United States that will hold a certain amount of money for them.
They do. Bank of America.
Bank of America, yeah.
Shabazz used to work there, the chief negotiator there, if you remember him.
Yeah, I know.
25 years with Bank of America, so he's got contacts there.
Well, at the end of the day, they've been using the Bank of America to advise them on what value to bid when they went to look at the ground. So there is that obviously connection there between them. I know they had Sam Powers, one of the chief executive operators for Bank of America, who was at the football ground when they were looking around it and the training ground and everything. But at the end of the day, the only thing that we can probably summarise on is that the Glazer family have had these exact same offers that they're going to have from Ratcliffe now, from the minority investment groups, to buy in at 20-25%. And they've never took one of them since January. So Ratcliffe doing this now, if I'm being honest with you, there's going to have to be something in place. There'd have to be some sort of a clause or an agreement for him to buy them out in a couple of years' time. Because if there isn't, it doesn't make any sense. Because you're going to be shot as soon as you get in the door from the Manchester United fans if you do this. And second of all, why are you going to buy in if you're not going to have any control over this football club? The Glazer family could do anything that they want and then just pass it over to you. They could take the lead off the roof. They could sell it on eBay. They could do whatever they want,
Okay.
and they just pass it to you.
I say that this is one horse race. I'm saying this is out of the water. I think this is just PR spin at the end of the day. This is just what I'm dreading. That is a concession to say, look, I'm saving face. I could never met the evaluation. At the end of the day, this process was only designed to get this the large shark on the hook. If you look at the shadow bidding, at the end of the day, that's why they were mingling down during the Qatar World Cup to meet with the royalties, the sheikhs, and everyone else. That's the thing, right? That's what I believe, and that's what I've been told as well. But at the end of the day, what really matters is we get the Glazers out. So if it's 100%, if it's really so that Sheikh Jassim and Inneos, they go toe to toe and then they both buy 100%, I take that. You know what I mean? I take that. As long as they can invest. But I don't see where they have the capital in that sense. They had 10 months to opt the bids. They have 10 months to look for investments. And it comes down to this 25%. It doesn't really make sense, Tom.
No, it doesn't make sense based upon the evaluations that's set. But even if 25%, like Ahmed's saying here, if that roughly works out at $1.5 billion, that would not build the Glazer family a new stadium.
Nope.
We've always sit here and said the same thing. The stadium that United would want, if they want to go over 80,000 capacity and completely rebuild, will cost over $2 billion, and it might cost even more.
Wait a minute.
North of that.
You just look, guys. Just go back in timeline and follow what's been reported, right? If you just do that, it wasn't a long time ago. There was a concession to say that he will not overpay and blah blah blah, and he's speaking this and that, and all of a sudden today you see some different stories. I just start to believe that he's just been used as a prop here, He knew all along that he could never compete, and it's just been a prop. And at the end of the day, your company, you want to preserve your brand, Ineos brand,
Well, Mick, when you think about it, 3 Premier League clubs have been up for sale in the last 3 years: Chelsea, Liverpool, and Manchester United.
Yeah.
And the one thing that you can always say with Ratcliffe is he's never valued any of them football clubs at the prices it would take to buy them.
Never.
He wouldn't have bought. He wasn't prepared. He wouldn't have bought Liverpool for £4 billion. Pounds, that is. He's not. He clearly doesn't want to buy Man United for 6, and he only put in a bid to buy Chelsea for 4.25.
So-called late bid as a PR stunt.
Yeah. Which it only took $2.5 billion to buy Chelsea, just the club. The rest of the money that was going on top, 175, was to put into the football club afterwards. That's the only difference. With Ratcliffe, it just doesn't make sense for what the offer that he would do.
No, could you then speculate or say he made an interview to say, I came in late for a bid? Well, was there even a bid? You know what I mean? Was it more of a PR stunt to get more, to get awarded a contract in US for fracking rights and stuff like that? Because at the end of the day, you just...
Many people looked at that as that it was almost a dry water run, because 3 months before the Chelsea situation came available, he'd met the Glazer family in New York, and they discussed Manchester United when there was a business conference summit over in the US in New York. And when they were discussing about it, they said, would you be open to selling Manchester United in the future? And, what sort of valuation would you be looking at? And at that time, the Glazer family weren't looking to sell Manchester United, so they said it's not for sale. And he came out obviously later in that interview and said, look, the 6 siblings have control of the football club and they don't want to sell. Those were his own words. But at the end of the day, I always look at it from this perspective, and for anybody in the chat, I might educate a couple of people here. If somebody says something's not for sale, don't ever believe them. Everything has a price. Jarvis's t-shirt has a price. Mick's hat has a price.
Never.
Everything has a price. Mick's channel right now, I could make him an offer, and there'll be a price in mind that he'd sell it for.
Yeah, the question is, you can buy it, but can you run it?
Mick.
That's like Ratcliffe right now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Mick and
Jarvis,
Tom,
first.
since I have you two guys here, I can ask stupid questions because you are the gurus and I'm just a regular Joe. So do you think the Glazers are concerned that if the 9-2 Foundation has a successful bid accepted, would they be afraid of the bid being derailed by the government, or that it will take like 5 years before it gets approved?
It
Could that
wouldn't.
be a thing?
No, because the Qatari government and the British government have a good relationship. That's why
Absolutely good relationship.
they already put in place that when you need to come for gas and energy, you come to Qatar. That's the
True.
principle that the Emir put in place when he met Boris Johnson before he was outed of office. That was the principle
That's
that they
yeah,
had in
yeah.
place then. Saudi Arabia have done the exact same thing. You need oil reserves when the British economy was in absolute crisis because nobody could actually fuel their cars at an affordable price. What did they do? Every single Western leader ran to the Middle East, and they ran to Saudi Arabia, they ran to Qatar, they ran to Bahrain, they ran to any state that they could to buy as much of the bulk as they can. And at the end of the day, they overpaid on the prices that they did, but they built the good relationships. And when
Mm.
Saudi Arabia wanted to buy Newcastle and the Premier League blocked it the first time, when the government steps in and they authoritarianly what the Premier League's review should say, they influenced Newcastle to be bought by Saudi Arabia.
100%. That's you,
And
you
at the
just stole
and at,
my words.
and at the end of the day, if push came to shove, and the Premier League objected to the notion for Manchester United to be bought out by a Qatari private individual, because that's how it's been quoted, even though we all know that there is government involvement in the bid. Let's be honest,
Yes,
it
there
is a
is.
stooge bid
Pure
because
politics.
if it wins out, you're going to have all these different names that are going to come out who were involved in this bid. But if they don't win, well, you can just blame Sheikh Jassim. He's the only name that's on the front of it. So they're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. If they win, you're going to hear Nasser Al Khalifa was behind it all along, or maybe Mick Ruby was a negotiator for the Qataris. We don't know. He's
How
under
do you know?
NDA agreement, guys. He's
I
under
don't say
NDA.
much. I don't say much. Stop baiting me, Tom. I know what you're trying to do here. It's not going to work. Yeah, just to spin further on that one. Yeah, 100% because governments do play a part, and there's like the geopolitics of it, and business is business. You know what? Because if you saw when there was Queen Elizabeth's funeral, or it was the coronation actually, the Emir came on that Friday, met with the Richie Sunak as well, to further discuss about the oil and gas projects, all that stuff, and do not forget the Qatar is investing a lot of projects in infrastructures and buildings, so they're quite influential at the end of the day. So that's definitely, I mean, government is powerful, to be honest. They do have a say. At the end of the day, they say politics and sports don't go together, but it does.
They do. They do. Behind closed doors, they do at the end of the day. I mean, let me take you, for example. Everybody knows what Mayfair is in London, for example.
Yes.
You have Harrods on it, you have everything. That whole block of it is owned by the Qatari government. They built it, they fund it, it's their property. The Shard in London, they built it, they fund it, it's their building.
Yep.
But it's just situated in London, which is one of the major cities in the world. Which, if they wanted to build a big infrastructure in, let's say, Manchester, for example, I don't know, they want to build a monument here, they could do. The UK government will never stop overseas funding if it's going to mean it's going to better their infrastructure and their actual economy going forward. They will always take out offshore's funding. So, but at the end of the day, this isn't a political show anyway, so we won't get into the politics of financials. But at the end of the day, they invest in some of the biggest brands in the world. So when these so-called journalists or fans on Twitter who object to Qatar's bid or whatever, listen, if you're with Barclays Bank, I'd change your bank account straight away then, because they fund that. If you go and shop in Sainsbury's, which is for people who live in the UK will know what that is, local supermarket. If you go and shop in Sainsbury's, I won't walk stepping foot in their doors again. If you drive a Volkswagen, I won't drive that anymore. All funded by the Qatari government then. So at the end of the day, if you're going to do your research, do it properly. But we always come to the same point with the Glazer family. They've never been quick decision makers when being the owners of Manchester United. So when it's something that's going to impact the course of history, really, going forwards, they're going to take the time of it at the end of the day. And unfortunately, you can always look at it from this perspective. Even with this new Sir Jim Ratcliffe offer, it's not going to meet the evaluation that they want. And even if you quarter it at 1.5 at 25%, correct me if I'm wrong on the maths, I think it does value it out at 6 billion over time. But you're going to be talking maybe 1.5 for 4 years. 4 years, you're going to have to wait to get that money.
Yeah.
When you can get a big
Done.
injection now from the Qataris, like
It's not the cleanest deal. It's not. I mean, that's why I'm saying it doesn't make sense. Why are you making installment payments and 4 years down the track you buy them out, like, you know? But then you're playing on that mentality of Joel and Avram to say, hey, I might offer you a place on the board here, like if you take this bid. But at the end of the day, in the current financial market, you see, like, you know, you compare two bidders and one is offering you, you know, straight cash front up, like, you know, you walk away. Somebody's paying up your bar tab that you've been partying down in Ibiza for 10 years in the VIP tables and left the credit card bill on 1 billion. So somebody's coming out there, Tom, and all of a sudden offer you to pay off your credit card bill. You partied for nothing for 10 years. You know what I mean? And plus they give you 1 billion each in your pocket to walk away. No hangovers there, right? But then on the other hand, you look at the current structure, what Ineos is trying to do, like confusing, trying to restructure certain deals. It's going to take time. And what's coming out now, 25%, doesn't really make any sense. It's pretty much like a last throw of the dice to say, look, I tried, I cannot go up against that. But even if they do, it's like you're playing poker, right? It's a raise or call, right? If you raise your bid, like, you know, the other one will call you and, you know, slap in another billion on top, like, you know. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
You just have to look at the current, you know, competitive market down there in the Middle East, like, you know, regarding the Saudis is propping up both the PGA Tour, like, you know, golfing. They're going head to head against the F1. I think it was Liberty Investment. I think they put in a bid there back in January. Was PIF, and Liberty Investment said no to 20 billion in valuation. And there's rumors going out the Qatar Investment Authority is buying the F1 as well, like, you know, and of course,
yeah,
for them, it's gonna be,
they wanted their own race originally. That's what they wanted. But
Yeah.
when they already got the rights for that, and then you can see the bigger market, the F1's growing. Everybody's slowly following on the bandwagon and starting to watch it.
No, but I've been told all along, like, you know, I'm not gonna name my sources from 92 Holding Foundation down in Qatar either, of course. But I've been told, like, you know, to hold tight, and whatever is coming out October, November is kind of what we're looking at, and that's, you know, I don't really follow up. It's like humbly, whatever you receive the information you share in a way. But never do I say that I'm in the know, or never do I say this, because at the end of the day, I want this club to be sold. I want us to move forward. And I just lost my train of thought because I got a message from a guy who said, really good time to do a podcast now. Because I was actually planning to do a podcast with Paul White, and we're going to do that on Wednesday, if you know Paul White as well. So we've been doing a few podcasts as well. He's very into finances and stuff as well. So at the end of the day, what I believe is, why is that not the financial report coming out? Is that because if they have it now and they announce the sales, and if they don't announce the sales, they would be penalized and be prosecuted at the end of the day. So I think they're buying time to actually giving the green light. And I think even what Neil Custis was saying, like, you know, people were shooting him down, like, you know, within 3-4 weeks, you find out in October, big news. So there is a full sale only happening. I believe so, right? You can only see in the transfer market as well that the Glazers never granted anything. Like, you know, there was always been the last Bank of America overdraft that was pledged back in January, if you remember. The financial planning of September, like, you know, they said, here's an overdraft for you to utilize in the summer, but that's the last overdraft credit, you know. They're not going to give anymore because Bank of America wants to have the debt repaid by 2024, 25 by memory, Tom.
Yeah, they want, any bank will want their money back within 5 years. That's the minimum cap that they normally put on it, unless you do a big over £1 billion infrastructure project like Spurs have done, and then you get a debt repayment plan over 22 years. But you're still going to be making money on the side whilst paying the debt off, with a new stadium. But the only difference is between what Spurs have done and Manchester United is United need bigger and better. That's the difference. And to get bigger and better, you need big pockets. And at the end of the day, the only way that you're going to have big pockets in the modern day world, anyway, with any sport, anybody who wants to get paid big top dollar, you go to the Middle East. And in particular, right now, you go to Saudi Arabia. Football's there. We know the big boxing fights go over there. We know F1 goes there now. They're looking at projects into. They've already bought into the PGA Tour with Live Golf and what they've done a merger with them, and they're buying anything and everything that they can to gain notoriety to their 2030 project that they, that Mohammed bin Salman set out to do. He's got all of his government ministers running around doing all this groundwork for him, and it's just pay whatever it takes to get anything.
Yeah.
I mean, when you pledge as a country to spend 22 billion US dollars on your own football league, that's a serious country. That is a serious country that wants to grow its actual following of sports, or as many people will call it, sports wash the country. That's what people would say anyway.
But they've been trying to create a lot of divide and conquer agendas, like with sports washing, human rights, rainbow movements, and stuff like that. It's been heavily influenced by think tanks and organizations to sort of smear campaigning in certain ways and try to prop up the other one as more of a cleaner bid. But then you got to talk about greenwashing, and fracking is not a sort of a, if you are environmentalist, like, it's the most lethal, toxic shit that you can ever do. So it's just bullshit, according to my opinion. Sorry for swearing, guys, as well, bullshit. But at the end of the day, what I think further is going to be a PR statement released. It's always like this when you have a competition, right? The runner-up will always congratulate and concede, right? So I think we are starting to see, and we started to see signs about it, like, about 4 weeks ago, 100%, that we have a concession there to say, like, it will be some statement from Ineos itself to say we tried at least, we did our best, but we lost to the best man, to the best bid, right?
We have a question here from Stephanie to Tom. It's a stupid question. She said that is there a chance that Qatar will do a deal with Sir Jim Ratcliffe? Nothing is impossible. Could it happen that the Qataris will team up with Sir Jim and they will have like a...
Could be.
When you talk about when you talk about Man United, there's no such thing as a stupid question anymore. So you're okay, Stephanie, in that regard. But no, with Qatar, they want the football club for themselves. They come in here like a bull in a china shop. We want to buy 100%. No investors, no partners, no bull. Well, as Mick put it there, I won't say the word to coin his phrase, but no BS. And we want the football club. That is literally it. Whereas with Ratcliffe, he's changed his tune. I'll buy 69%. I'll buy 50. I'll buy 52 and keep some of them in. I'll buy 50. I'll buy a percentage off of each of them and keep them all in. But basically, just move the goalposts.
Originally, like, Dubai IDS was in talks with Sir Jim Ratcliffe to do such a model, like 25, 75, 35, 65, but that kind of fell out of the water as soon as Qatar entered the race. Like, they were adamant to get it. So you're absolutely right. Like, Qatar wants 100%, nothing else, nothing more. And everyone walks away happy, like, winner, chicken dinner. Like,
well, when you've got a pot of over £300 billion, why do you need to partner with anybody?
You don't.
You don't. That's the thing. And that project that they have with QIA, that's built up of over 1,000 people that run and manage those assets. So Jim Ratcliffe is one individual that manages his own assets. And don't be fooled, people, when you see the tagline, so Jim Ratcliffe, net worth $21 billion or anything like that. Don't be fooled, people. If anybody assumes that that's what's in somebody's bank account,
it's not.
I'll stand correct you. It's assets. So that could be an evaluation of what he has a percentage of with Ineos, with Nice, with Lausanne, with any of these different projects and businesses. That's all of those valuations totaled up into one, and that's what your net worth is. So
60 billion.
Yeah, 60 billion. But at the end of the day, when you want to project what he actually owns, he doesn't own all of Ineos. He partners with three people. And the other two are David and John Curry. Those three are the actual best friends of Sir Jim Ratcliffe for like years, over 30, 40 years, that they've just built up a petrochemical business and it's gone bang to the rooftops. So at the end of the day, the one thing that I'm shocked with Ratcliffe is that he hasn't even been open-minded to partner with an Elliott investment or to go with a Carlisle group. Even if you don't do a deal with them, speak to them. What's the worst thing that you can do? Hear people out and think, well, you're prepared to buy 25, I'll buy 75, and we'll do a cut price deal there. Or you up your bid, you go to 40, and I'll make up the rest of it. And then over time, you can do similarly what Chelsea have done with Clearlake and Todd Bowler. Take the businessman and take the £1 billion hedge fund or investment company and merge the two together.
They try to do that.
You manage the football club. You lead our ownership group. That's effectively how Chelsea Football Club runs in a nutshell. But at the end of the day, when you want to run £1 billion company, at the end of the day, United is more than a football club. And people don't want to talk about this side of it. It is more than a football club. Business and brand will be bigger than Manchester United. Based upon that, if United died as a football club, everybody will still know United as a brand. They will still know the club crest. They will still know that Manchester United has worldwide reach to the biggest sports brands in the world, the Adidas's, the Nikes, the Jordans, any company in the world that you want. But you have scrounger clubs like Chelsea that it takes them 6 months to actually get a club sponsor. United, they could get a sponsor within a week.
Because you have such a huge customer base. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And
well,
another
worldwide.
thing that we forgot to mention is about the overall shirt sponsorship deal, because that's TeamViewer that's expiring anyway. So
Yeah.
anyway, they were looking to pull out anyway. So
they've not made any money from the deal. That's why they want to
they
pull
haven't
out.
made any money for the deal at all. So this Snapdragon is already an existing sponsor of the club. The shirt sponsor, the Adidas shirt sponsorship, doesn't kick in until that's an extension contract, and that doesn't kick in until 2025, to be honest. So currently, Glazers, they look for strategical investments. You had the invitation from minority investors, hedge funds. Everyone pulled away. They open up the bonnet. And what better way to come in to speak about finances? Finally! You're a little bit early, mate. We were supposed to have a podcast on Wednesday. Paul White.
Big up.
What are you doing here? Paul, how are you doing?
Hello. Sorry, just on my phone, guys. How are we?
That's okay. We were talking about the takeover. You said you were just messaging me. I said we have a podcast on Wednesday. Oh, welcome. You speak fine.
I decided to come on for a wee bit. Sorry, I'm just on my phone, so the quality's probably not the best.
Are you catching up what we were talking about?
I was watching a wee bit. Yeah, I've been on Spaces talking about it and stuff like that there, and just giving the opinion of this seems like a massive dead fish of a bid. In total honesty, it seems like you don't do this type of restructure of your bid unless you're losing the race. There's no reason to do a massive restructure like this. Like, you're completely changing the terms of, I no longer want control of the club straight away, but I'm happy enough to invest in, and then to the terms of getting control in 4 years. And it just leaves so many if, buts, and maybes in the bid, as in how much the Glazers get now to compare what the share price would be valued at 3 or 4 years down the line. So it is a weird bid to put in, especially if you weren't look like you were losing the race.
We spoke earlier, you and me, about this in detail, and I totally agree with you. Have you ever spoke to Tom before?
No, I don't think I have.
No,
Tom.
I've never met Paul before.
Yeah,
Nice to meet you
let me
anyway,
introduce-
Paul.
Yep.
It's been a minute, my friend. When was the last time we did a podcast together?
Oh, it was before the summer break.
It was. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, been busy. So
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I've been keeping tabs on the Night 2 Holding Foundation, and you've been also looking at the Inneos side of it, and I totally agree. I'm towing your line to say that there is a substantial bid that meets the evaluation price that was kind of blowing the competition out of the water. And what we're seeing here is kind of, I don't know if it's been the Ineos camp is the PR team leaking it out, but at the end of the day, what's going to be they're going to probably come up with a PR statement from their side, because they use agency as well, PR machine agency. So to formulate the strategy, or what do you think is going to happen?
Well, this bid itself is literally a takeover bid. This is how big businesses get usually bought. Unless you're talking in the realms of Apple or Amazon or Microsoft buying somebody, generally you do go in at a percentage around 20-25%, and then you buy out later on down the line. It seems that Sir Jim could go down the line of, I tried the 69%. I tried to go toe to toe with the Qataris. I didn't make it. I restructured the bid just to get a controlling stake and leaving some Glazers on.
I got
That
challenged by
didn't
the
work.
minority.
Yeah, and now I'm trying to go down the minority route, and I think this deal, Joel and Avram would be licking their lips at and go, this solves all our problems. We get a cash injection that we can put into the club. We get to stay on. We'll be bought out eventually. But I think the other four could be just sitting there going, we want our money. And that's what it's going to come down to. This bid, if it was just Joel and Avram, I think would get accepted. This bid with the other four that you can clearly say have had no interest at all in the company at any point would be like, why would we give up the millions we have on the table now and they're even putting the risk at the share price Sir Jim pays now to what he pays 6 years down the line, because there's no way you can guarantee that I'll be buying you out at $38 a share in 3 or 4 years' time, because the valuation of the club could change. It could depreciate. It could go up the other way, but that's very unlikely without massive amounts of money to invest. And there's no way, even if they were to take, I think it's worked out at 1.5 billion is what the Glazers would get for 25% of their share. Even if you were to take, say, 600, 700 million of that and invest it into United, that's not going to massively increase the value of the club.
Never.
Because there's still massive problems. There's cash flow problems, debt repayment problems, problems with the money going out and not coming in with player sales that is going to take investment over 10 years to sort out. So I don't see it working. I don't see four Glazers that want to sell going down a minority shareholder route. If that was the case, why haven't they gone down the Elliott management route or the Carlisle group route that we're offering the minority investment without them having to sell their shares later on down the line?
Yep.
They would have just gone with that path.
Okay. I think we should save our powder for Wednesday's podcast as well, so we don't disclose too much. But it's great you coming in here, because we had Tom here talking what he knows, what he feels, and it's great that you come in at the end of the day also to sort of share your light on it, because you and me, we speak facts. We told the same line when we look at the finances and everything else. But let's save it for Wednesday. Like, you know, we said we will do a special edition podcast 2:00 UK time, didn't we?
Yeah, we were saying this afternoon before this news came out, so it's kind of good timing. It's a bit of a weird one.
It is. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Glazes out, green and gold until we announce and sold. That's all we can say. Peace, love, and what do we say, Jarvis?
Go bananas.
That's it.
Love
That's
United.
all. Cheers, people. Glazes out.
Good night.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching Mufc Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.